So this morning we turn our focus on the crucial topic impacting millions of South Africans, well-being and happiness. So the University of Johannesburg hosted the launch of the World Happiness Report yesterday, which sheds light on the global development trends with a particular emphasis on African nations. While South Africa grapples with challenges such as a record high unemployment rate and the ongoing load shedding, the report offers important insights into how these issues are affecting the nation's overall well-being. To discuss these findings further, we are now joined by a well-being economist from the University of Johannesburg, who played a pivotal role in compiling the data for this year's report, Professor Talita Greyling. Prof, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Happy Human Rights Day and Happy Happiness Day for yesterday.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. I want to start off here first. A well-being economist. What is a well-being economist?
A well-being economist works towards increasing well-being and happiness for people. So well-being means quality of life, with the difference that we actually ask people and consider people in these questions. So economics is moving back to be people-orientated. Lately it really moved away and thought they were mathematicians and statisticians, but it's about people.
Yeah, it is about people. It's also, guess, when you speak about, just a quick one before we move on to the report, when you speak about job satisfaction, what is it actually within the work environment that leads to somebody feeling that, listen, I'm really satisfied in this job that I have?
Well, there's so many things. Income is one, your salary is one, but the other one is the relationships with the people you work with. If those relationships is healthy relationships, you find that productivity will increase. So well-being among employees is essential. Oh, also turnover rate, you keep them for longer.
That's very true. Okay, then let's look at the report. South Africa currently being ranked at number 95 out of 147 countries. And according to the report, this is our biggest fall. What does this tell us, and what does the data show us about how the people responded to the questions?
South Africa did drop in the ranks. But if we just look at what's been happening in South Africa on service delivery is a basic need. So if you don't address the basic needs of people, you affect their quality of life. Remember, we are here about quality of life. High unemployment rates. So it's not surprising that we actually did drop those numbers. But on the other hand, if we look at the Ubuntu, the social relationship side of South Africans, and also the benevolence, helping a stranger, we actually performed well in those areas.
Yeah, and what does that then show us? Because you have a benevolence rating that is very, very high, but then on the other end as well, you have an issue with inequality. Because on one end, when we speak about benevolence, especially for people who are able to donate, that means that you need to have money to be able to donate. But we live in a country with high inequality levels.
That is very true. And it's not about just donating money. It's about helping a stranger. That is the main thing that comes across in South Africa and Africa. So Africa very often don't have money. But how many grandmothers look after their children? That is benevolence. That's giving back, although it's not necessarily in monetary terms. So for South Africa, those are the areas we really perform well, and we know it. We know, just looking at our streets, how often we can see the kindness of people towards other people.
The kindness of people towards other people, and we saw this during COVID-19 as well.
Yes, and I've just heard help the elderly getting water. Basic needs, isn't that a wonderful initiative? And we don't always see this in Western countries, where it's a lot more each person to himself. Where in Africa, we've got that community.
Yeah, actually showing visuals now of an elderly woman next to one of those Jojo tanks that we were speaking about a bit earlier on with our reporter Zola Sholane. Then let's deal with this aspect. This morning we're asking our viewers On a scale of 1 to 10, how would they rate their level of happiness, with 1 being totally unhappy and 10 being very happy? And the results, Prof, between 1 and 3, 58% of the people who've participated in the poll are unhappy, and then you only have 22% who have voted very happy. What do you read into this, and does it correlate to the data that you have found?
It depends on what they understand under happy. Does it mean emotional happiness? So did they get up this morning with a smile? And then I would say, I think if I look at the indices that we find on public holidays, it's true that many people are happy, emotionally happy. If they understood that as, are they satisfied with their lives? I can understand those scores, because at this stage, many South Africans are suffering from service delivery. They don't have electricity, now they don't have water, and those are basic needs. If you wake up in the morning, you don't have electricity, and you don't have water, essentials, will that make you happy?
Yeah. Looking at the report speaking about loneliness as an example, in 2023, 19% of the young people worldwide said that they do not have anyone to count on. And this one also for me speaks to, if you look at South Africa as an example, with the migrant labor system, not necessarily focusing on what happened during the past in apartheid, but what's currently happening now. And we spoke about inequality. People moving from their home provinces or home cities to different provinces to try and find greener pastures, which then sometimes mean that once they get to that city, they only have themselves to rely on. Speak to us a bit about that.
Well, that is true. I mean, this is not my in-depth research area, but just knowing from knowledge and knowing from a South African perspective, it is very sad that people need to leave their families and their children to find work in urban areas. And the fact that we are so different than Europe, if we think of other developed countries, it's a homogeneous population. There's so much heterogeneity in Africa. I mean, it's not one solution for a country, because there are so many different areas, inequalities of opportunities, and that to me lies very close to my heart.
Yeah, but then again, with South Africa, like we see the report speaks about with Latin American societies characterized by larger families or larger household sizes and strong family bonds, other valuable lessons from other societies that seek higher sustainable well-being, is that we see that the larger families also contribute to that level of happiness and the ability that at night when you're going to have dinner, that you are actually dining with family members and people around you. So we know that in South Africa we have those big families. However, once again, with those big families as well comes this issue around inequality and whether you are able to take care of that family.
That is really a very important concept. But I must say the feeling of Ubuntu, taking care of your family, that love, the generosity, sharing, even if there's very little to share, really increases. If we look at the difference between happiness, and I'm saying emotional happiness, so the love, and life satisfaction, quality of life, that difference is immense. So the quality of life is not equally reflected in the emotional happiness. But if we look at developed countries, those are very closely related, which once again shows the resilience in South Africa and in Africa.
Yeah, and finally, Prof, the report speaks on mental health, even low-income countries. Even in low-income countries, mental health treatment emerge as a especially effective way of spending money. Comes back to this issue around cost. But speak to us about the importance of mental health, and perhaps maybe how do we create these spaces that allows us to have conversations of mental health where it's not seen as a weakness.
Well, in South Africa, I am concerned about the pressures on South Africans, on young South Africans, especially we see that in a university. Our students come to the university, they're supported by their communities. That places so much pressure on them. They have to perform. And it definitely got mental health implications. I think at this stage, especially at a university, we really take cognizance of this and ask them to come forward so that we can support them. But I think this is not just at universities, I think it's throughout South Africa. Those pressures are felt. I mean, we're known as South Africans as very hardworking, and then there's so much unemployment, but they still need to look after their families. So mental health goes with these pressures.
Yeah, certainly. Professor Greyling, thank you so much. Greyling, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Professor Talita Greyling there, well-being economist at the University of Johannesburg, on the World Happiness Report, which the university launched yesterday. South Africa ranking at number 95 out of 147 countries, and this is our biggest fall since we form part of this survey.